Hi folks, Dr. P here. This is question number 32 from the Rational Expressions and Equations assignment. Gary also bought a box of absolute value baseball caps for $1,200. He kept 10 caps to give away as prizes for contests and sold the rest for a total of $2,240. In A, if there are X baseball caps in the box, write an expression for the number of baseball caps that he sold. Well, the question tells us that he kept 10 of the caps. So if there are X caps in the box, he would have sold X minus 10 caps. B, write an expression for the amount he paid for each baseball cap. Well, he spent $1,200 on the baseball caps, and he bought X number of caps, so 1,200 divided by X. So this is the purchase price per cap. In C, write an expression for the selling price of each baseball cap. Well, so he sold caps worth $2,240 divided by how many caps did he sell? Well, he sold X minus 10 caps. So that'll be an expression for the selling price of each baseball cap. In D, if the selling price of each cap is double, which means times 2, right? Is double Gary's purchase price, write and solve a rational equation to determine the number of baseball caps in the box. Okay, so this expression represents the purchase price. This expression here represents the selling price. And the units here are going to be the dollars per cap. How much did one single cap cost to purchase? And the unit here will be dollars per cap as well. So how much did he sell each cap for? Okay. So essentially what the statement in D says, it says that the selling price equals to the selling price of each cap is double the purchase price, which means 2 times the purchase price. So now what we can do is we can replace this term here, selling price, with this expression, and we replace the purchase price here with this expression. So it's going to be 2,240 divided by X minus 10 as the selling price equals to 2 times 1,200 divided by X. And in this question we want to determine the number of baseball caps that were in the box. Well, that's our variable X, so we're solving it for X. Okay. So let's start by multiplying this 2 by the 1,200. So if we do that, we're going to get 2,240 over X minus 10. X minus 10 on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we're going to get 2,400 over X. And now I'm going to move everything to the left-hand side. So I'm essentially subtracting 2,400 over X from both sides. So if I do that, I'm going to end up with 2,240 divided by X minus 10 minus 2,400 over X equals to 0. Now, whenever we're subtracting quotients like this, we need to have a lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator here is X times X minus 10. And the next step here, we're going to multiply each term by this lowest common denominator, and that will allow us to get rid of the variable in the denominator, which is sort of the next step here in order to be able to solve this. So the first term is this. I'm going to multiply that by the lowest common denominator. I'm going to do the same thing with the second term. I'm multiplying the second term with the lowest common denominator. And now we can see that this x minus 10 cancels against this x minus 10. This x cancels against this x. What are we left with? Well, in the first term here, we're left with 2,240 times x. The second term here is 2,400 times x minus 10 equals to 0. So just to be aware that in this step here, where we multiplied each term with the lowest common denominator, we did that here as well, okay? Except that 0 times really anything is 0. So you could put that in here. You can say, well, I took the 0 here and I multiplied it by the lowest common denominator. But of course, this whole thing equals to 0. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to show that. All right, so in the next step here, we're going to expand this monomial times binomial product using distributive property. So we have 2,240x minus 2,400x. Negative times negative is positive, so it's going to be plus. So 2,400 times 10 is 24,000 equals to 0. We can combine like terms. These terms are like 2,240 minus 2,400 is negative 160x plus 24,000 equals to 0. We subtract 24,000 from both sides, and we're going to be left with negative 160x equals to negative 24,000. And finally, we divide both sides by negative 160. And if we divide these two numbers, we're going to get 150. Okay, so that's the total number of caps that he purchased initially, or in this case, the total number of caps in the box.